My name is Aiden. I'm 32, and for most of my family, I was the type they assumed would just fold when things got complicated. The quiet one, the agreeable one, the guy who never caused a scene. Maybe I used to be like that. But everything changed when my grandparents passed and left me their entire estate, the house, the savings, and shares valued just under $900,000. Something inside me shifted. I began paying attention. I started listening more carefully. And most importantly, I started planning because I knew exactly what kind of people I was related to. My brother Tyler is 3 years younger than me. Flashy, loud, magnetic, the kind of guy who can lie straight to your face and still convince you to lend him $5,000 for a sure investment. He had gotten away with so much over the years. Credit cards in Mom's name, a borrowed car that vanished, and every single time, Mom bailed him out. "He's just figuring things out," she'd say. Meanwhile, I was always expected to be the responsible one, the backup plan, the safety net, and I was done playing that role. When Grandpa passed away 2 years ago, a year after Grandma, he left everything to me. I wasn't shocked. I had been their caretaker when no one else bothered to call or visit. I drove them to appointments, handled groceries, managed the endless paperwork. Tyler. He showed up on Christmas morning, snapped a few Instagram photos, and disappeared until the next holiday. But when the will was read and my name was the only one on it, I saw my mom's face, the tight-lipped, disappointed twist, like I had taken what wasn't mine. That was when I knew the storm was coming. The house was the centerpiece, a stunning Victorian with deep red bricks, tall windows, and ivy climbing the sides, like something out of a movie. A historic property that had been in the family for 3 generations, kept in near-perfect condition by my grandparents. Over the last decade, the neighborhood had skyrocketed in value. Every surrounding house had been flipped, yet they never sold, and now it was mine. I didn't move in immediately. I stayed in my apartment across town and quietly got everything in order. I had the house appraised, consulted an estate attorney, and set up a trust, not just for the house, but for everything. I told no one. Not Tyler, not Mom, no one. I secured the original deed, placed the property, title, and assets into an irrevocable trust with myself as trustee, and even transferred the utilities to a business name tied to the trust. It cost extra fees, but I didn't care. I knew my family well enough to know they'd try something. For a while, it was quiet. Too quiet. Tyler sent a few texts asking if he could use the pool. The house doesn't even have one. Mom dropped hints about how unfair it was to leave everything to me alone. "Well, your brother was always Grandpa's favorite," she said, as if that justified anything. I just nodded and changed the subject, saying nothing. I let them believe I was naive, that I hadn't taken precautions. Then last month, the tension exploded. Tyler began posting vague stories online. Big things coming, next chapter loading, all that nonsense. One Saturday, I was at the house doing yard work, nothing fancy, just keeping up the landscaping, when I saw Mom's car pull into the driveway. Tyler jumped out first, grinning, sunglasses on, like he was walking onto a photo set. Mom followed, clipboard in hand, smiling like she was about to cut a ribbon at a grand opening. "Hey man," Tyler said, clapping me on the shoulder. "We've got some news." I raised an eyebrow. Mom stepped forward. "We spoke to a lawyer," she said. "It turns out the house should have gone to both of you. Your grandfather made a mistake not updating the will after your grandmother passed. But don't worry, we handled it." I stared at her. "Handled what exactly?" Tyler pulled a folded paper from his back pocket and waved it. "We had the house title transferred to my name. It's already done. You'll need to be out by Friday, but no hard feelings, right? We'll give you time to get your things." I didn't respond immediately. I just looked at them, one, then the other, taking in their smug, audacious faces. My heart didn't race. I didn't panic. Honestly, I almost laughed because they really believed I was that clueless. I gave them a small, polite smile, the kind that makes people nervous. You really think I'd let that happen? Tyler laughed, thinking I was joking. It's already happening, dude. You've been living in fantasy land too long. Mom stepped in, softer. We're not trying to be cruel, Aiden. It's just practical. Tyler can manage the property, maybe flip it. You've got your own place anyway. Everyone wins. I didn't argue. I just nodded slowly. Got it. 2 days later, they returned with a moving truck and hired movers. I had been expecting it. They pulled in, laughing and shouting. Tyler sipped coffee in the passenger seat while Mom directed the movers toward the front door. Then they noticed the porch. I stood there, arms crossed, beside a tall man in a navy suit. He held a thick folder and wore a badge on his belt. The folder bore the name of my trust, a name they didn't recognize yet. The badge was real. The suit was real. And the man was from the county office of property records. They froze. Tyler stepped out first, confused. What's going on? I stayed silent. The man in the suit spoke. Calm, authoritative, unshaken by their theatrics. Are you Tyler Green? Tyler frowned. Yeah, who's asking? I'm with the county office of property records, the man said. I'm here on behalf of the legal trustee of the East Thornhill estate, he gestured at the house. Documentation shows the deed has been held in a trust since April last year, under Aiden Green's management. Any claims on the property since that date, including a fraudulent title transfer, are not only invalid but criminally prosecutable. Tyler's face drained of color. Fraudulent, he muttered to Mom. What is he talking about? Mom stepped forward, lips tight. There must be a mistake. We had a lawyer look at the old deed. It was still in Grandpa's name. We assumed. You assumed wrong, I finally said. I never held the property in my name directly. It's owned by a trust. That's why no public records show it. You went to some shady title mill and tried to fake a transfer based on an outdated document. Mr. Lavin nodded. I've already filed a fraud report on the attempted title claim. Normally, we'd issue a warning first, but given the circumstances, bringing movers, threatening occupancy, attempting to evict the legal trustee, we're skipping straight to enforcement. Tyler blinked. Enforcement. I turned slightly toward him and spoke plainly. It means if either of you sets foot in this house without my permission again, it's trespassing. And if you try to tamper with the trust or any of its assets, you're looking at multiple charges. For a long, heavy moment, no one spoke. The movers lingered halfway between the truck and the porch, exchanging nervous glances as if they'd walked into a minefield. One coughed and slowly backed toward the van. Tyler finally found his voice. You're seriously doing this, to family? My voice remained calm. Too calm. Family? You showed up with a forged title and a moving crew. You tried to steal my home. The one thing Grandpa and Grandma wanted me to have. Don't talk to me about family. Mom's jaw tightened. They were confused, Aiden. They didn't understand. No, I said sharply, cutting her off. You didn't understand. You thought I'd be the same pushover I was at 20. The kid you could guilt into giving up a weekend to babysit Tyler's drama or float alone because you needed it just once. But I'm not that kid anymore. I learned. I listened. I prepared. Mr. Lavin flipped through his folder. Also, just so it's clear, the local precinct has been alerted. If either of you attempt to return under any property claim, there will be a file ready to go, civil and criminal. Tyler's eyes flashed, but he said nothing. He turned to the movers. We're leaving now. He didn't look back at me. Mom lingered for a moment, mouth slightly open, as if she wanted to squeeze out one last manipulation. But nothing came. She followed him without another word. The truck pulled away, and I watched the taillights vanish down the hill. The quiet settled again, the heavy, tense quiet that lingers after a confrontation years in the making. Mr. Lavin handed me a copy of the filed report. "Call if they come back," he said. I thanked him. Once he left, I stood on the porch for a long while, the same porch where Grandpa used to sit and talk about knowing your people, not just their words but their patterns, their habits. He'd always say, "Don't judge people by what they say in a moment. Judge them by what they do when they think you're not watching." He was right. I had watched, and now I had acted. But it wasn't over. 3 days later, a formal letter arrived, typed and signed by a lawyer my mother had hired. She claimed emotional distress and argued that, as a direct descendant, she had a moral and familial right to part of the estate. She demanded compensation for her mental anguish, listing reparations, $150,000 in cash, joint ownership of the family home, and a monthly allowance indefinitely. I stared at it, numb at first. Then my hands began to shake. Not with fear, but fury. She hadn't finished. I must have read that letter 6 times before setting it on my desk. At first, I tried to reason with it, to convince myself it could be a misunderstanding. By the 6th read, denial was impossible. My own mother had put her name on legal stationery and tried to bill me for not letting her and Tyler steal what my grandparents entrusted to me. It wasn't the money. It was the entitlement, the audacity to call a personal family matter a misunderstanding one day and demand $150,000 the next, as if this were some business dispute between strangers. The phrase that echoed in my mind was familial obligation, as if loyalty only flowed one way, upward toward them. As if I were born to give and they were born to take. I didn't respond immediately. I knew better than to react emotionally. I called Mr. Lavin, who connected me with a sharp estate attorney named Sonia Cruz. She was in her early 40s, soft-spoken, razor-focused, the kind of professional who didn't bluff because she didn't need to. I gave her everything, the trust documents, my mother's lawyer's letter, screenshots of Tyler's texts and social media posts from his next chapter campaign. Within a day, Sonia had filed a formal cease and desist against both of them. The message was clear. The trust was airtight, legally shielded, and they had no standing. But she didn't stop there. Digging deeper, she discovered Tyler had forged multiple signatures in his bogus title transfer attempt, even faking a notary stamp and filing it through a sketchy online registry in another state, hoping our county records wouldn't notice. Sonia contacted a fraud investigator with the DA's office, who were already investigating that registry. Tyler had unwittingly placed himself at the top of their case file. I still hadn't told them I knew. If they wanted to keep digging, I'd let them dig. And dig they did. 2 weeks later, another letter arrived, less formal this time, typed, from my mother directly. Passive-aggressive phrases leapt off the page. "After all I've done for you, you were always the quiet one. I raised you to be better than this." She ended with, "You can end this all right now by just doing the right thing. Family should never need lawyers to settle what love and understanding can resolve." I didn't respond. Sonia advised me not to. Instead, I forwarded the letter to her, adding it to the growing file that could support a restraining order if needed. Then came the kicker. One morning, I found a folded flyer stuck into my mailbox, jammed into the door handle like a high school prank. The handwriting was unmistakable. Tyler's. The note read, "Hope you're enjoying playing King of the Castle. Just remember who's really got your back when the money runs dry." I laughed. Not loudly. Not a big laugh. Just that quiet, tired laugh that comes when you realize someone really didn't realize how far I'd outgrown them. I took the note inside, scanned it, and added it to the file. But I also made a decision then and there. I wasn't just going to defend myself anymore. I was going to push back. Tyler was already under scrutiny for real estate fraud, but Sonia pointed out that if we could prove intentional malice or harassment, we could escalate the consequences. And while the courts would handle the criminal side, there was another arena where Tyler could be hurt: his credit, his record, his career. He had recently landed a position at a boutique real estate firm, one of those flashy places that put more effort into Instagram than compliance policies. I did some digging. They prided themselves on transparency and ethical property transfers. I wondered, would they be proud of someone who tried to steal a house with forged paperwork? But I didn't act impulsively. I waited. Then something unexpected happened. My cousin Megan, who I hadn't spoken to in years, reached out via Facebook. "Hey, can we talk? Your mom's been calling people in the family saying some things. I figured I should let you know." We met for coffee the next morning. Megan had always been a straight shooter. No nonsense, and that hadn't changed. She showed me texts, voicemails, even a group chat with 2 other cousins. My mother had started spreading a story. I had manipulated Grandpa in his final years, convinced him to change the will while mentally declining, even taken advantage of him emotionally, legally, maybe medically. It was a full-scale smear campaign. I felt sick. That was when I realized this wasn't about the house, the money, or even Tyler. It was about control. My mother couldn't accept that I had said no, that I had protected anything from her grasp. And now, she was trying to ruin me for it. Megan looked me in the eye. I don't believe her. Neither do Jamie or Chris. But she won't stop. She's calling everyone. I nodded slowly, my heart pounding. "Thanks for telling me." That night, I barely slept. I realized that if she was willing to lie to the entire family to pressure me into giving up what was legally mine, I had to be ready to finish this. Not just for me, but to make sure she and Tyler couldn't do it to anyone else. What I did next didn't just involve lawyers. I spent the next 2 days in my study planning. The trust was secure, legally airtight, but their smear campaign had already begun infecting the extended family. Megan's warning had come just in time, but the damage was spreading. I started receiving vague texts from distant relatives. "Just wanted to check in. Heard some stuff. Hope it's not true." My mother wasn't just trying to take the estate. She wanted to destroy my reputation so completely that no one would believe me. I could see the trap they were setting. Pressure from relatives, whispered guilt, gaslighting from every corner of the family tree. Eventually, they would try to force me to be the bigger person and hand over what was mine for the sake of peace. I wasn't walking into that. I built my own trap. With Sonia's help, I prepared a legal declaration, a statement of facts supported by all the evidence we had gathered. The forged title application, fake notary stamp, letters, attempted property seizure, and the smear campaign. I included scanned screenshots from Megan's messages, voicemails from my mother calling me a greedy manipulator, and the lawyer's ridiculous demand for $150,000. I didn't just file it away. I sent a clean, easy-to-read version to every relative my mother had contacted. My note was short. "Hi, I know some things have been said recently. Before you draw conclusions, here are the facts, backed by documents, not stories. I've attached everything you need. After this, I won't discuss it again. If you believe me, great. If not, that's your choice, but at least you'll have the full truth." I sent it to 27 contacts. The fallout was instant. Within hours, 5 relatives I hadn't spoken to in years replied. Most were apologetic, a few were horrified. My Aunt Robin, who had worshipped Tyler, called that evening in tears. She believed every word my mother said until she saw the forgery, the letters, the folder of proof. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know," she sobbed. I didn't ask for apologies. I just hoped she now understood why I had done what I did. Not everyone reacted the same. 3 relatives, all on my mother's side, doubled down, claiming I had manipulated the narrative. One even accused me of faking the documents. I knew I couldn't win them all, but for everyone who refused to see the truth, 5 more reached out to say, "Thank you for telling the truth." Then came the part one had been waiting for. I reached out anonymously to Tyler's boss through the company's internal ethics line, submitting a complete PDF report, organized and labeled with exhibits. It detailed the attempted fraudulent transfer of the house, misuse of legal documents, and potential real estate crimes. I thought it might take a week. It took 2 days. Tyler's name was removed from the company website by the end of the week. A contact I had in the local real estate association, someone I knew from college, now in compliance, told me the firm launched an internal audit immediately. They uncovered other inconsistencies in Tyler's client files. He wasn't just fired, he was reported to the state board. His license was frozen pending investigation. He tried calling me that day. 11 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one. That weekend, a new post appeared on his Instagram, a black screen with the words, "Some people will destroy your life and pretend they're the victim." He didn't name me. He didn't need to. Everyone who mattered already knew the truth. It wasn't over yet. 2 days later, I received a formal notice from the county. A warrant was being issued. The forged title application had triggered legal consequences. Tyler was being charged with attempted property fraud and submitting falsified documents to a government agency. I stared at the notice, numb. This wasn't the ending I wanted. I hadn't wanted to destroy him. I hadn't wanted any of this. But he had forced my hand. Consequences followed. He was arraigned quietly, no headlines, no spectacle. A lawyer he couldn't afford, a future full of legal headaches. Probation, fines, maybe community service. But the record would follow him. Jobs would be harder to find. Trust harder to rebuild. The next time he tried to present himself as a savvy real estate professional, this would be the skeleton in his closet. As for my mother, she went silent once the evidence went public. Completely silent. No calls. No apologies. No demands for money. About 2 months later, a letter arrived. Not from her, but from her attorney. Carefully worded, it stated she was withdrawing all legal claims regarding the estate and requested no further contact. She had given up. She knew she had lost. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel triumph. I felt free. That night, I walked the old Victorian slowly, barefoot on the hardwood floors. The air smelled faintly of cedar and old books. The house was quiet, peaceful, mine. I stood in the den where Grandpa used to sit in his big leather armchair and read the paper, and I whispered to myself that I had kept it safe, just like I promised. I think he would have been proud. In the end, I didn't just keep the house. I kept my dignity. I kept my future. Tyler lost his career. My mother lost her narrative. And I gained something they never expected, the strength to stop being their victim. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the quiet one anymore.